So today I am going to be hopefully getting this thing all up on jack stands, getting the suspension all drooped out, getting the wheel liners in and cut, and pulling off the front clip. So I have a lot to do, but man, does it look good. It just fires me up to get this thing back on the road. I miss driving it. That is part of the problem of doing these builds. I get about halfway through and I'm like, dang it, I miss driving my truck. Then I start taking shortcuts. So I'm not going to do that this time. I am going to focus. I'm going to be disciplined. I'm going to make it perfect. But I still want to drive it really bad. Let's get to work. Okay, so instead of cutting more, I am going to raise... Jeez, I'm getting blood everywhere. Oh, man. So... this is where these quarter panels are gonna end up, I'm hoping. I've got them up as high as I can, and I've pushed them far forward. So, I got a nice equal gap right here on both sides. Door lines are good. I can come back a little bit if I need to. That gives me an idea of where I'm drooping. Oh, more blood. And then it gives me plenty of room here too. So that's all I've raised them. Okay. Now I need to cycle the tire, see if it's gonna hit. Okay, it looks like this is about full bump. I need to add a spacer to my bump stop strike pad. As you can see, it's not getting hit when it articulates before the shock bottoms out. So there's no pressure in here, no springs in here. This tire's off the ground. Panhard bar is doing its job there. So, to check my clearances, in the back I'm looking great. Up front, I think I'm pretty good. Let's hit the steering and see what it looks like. Doesn't seem to be that much of an issue until I get close to full lock. Well, not full lock, but how far do I have to go? I got about another inch, you can see on my ram. But I'm happy with this. This looks good. Let's get those tire liners fit, huh? Okay, first rough fit of the liners coming together nice. I'm gonna have to do a little bit more. Well, maybe not. It's not fitting perfectly, but that's to be expected right now. Okay. Next. Time to fill up this one coilover. So, see if I can get a better look at this for you guys today. So there is 0 in here. You can see it's fully down. Okay, 200. It looks so awesome. It's amazing when you strip off all the stuff, just how burly it is underneath here. I mean, look at that. Yeah. That, ladies and gentlemen, is a 6-liter iron block V8 with 14 inches of travel and 1-ton axles on an awesome Blazer body. Okay, one shock in, it's pressurized. I've got the slider stops at about 2 inches up, and I've got 0 preload on it. Well, maybe half an inch of preload on it. But it's back in. Articulation on the other side. I have the wheel liner in. Needs a little bit of trimming, but not a whole ton. But here we are, full stuff. I should be able to steer too, I'm thinking. Am I hitting? I don't think I am. That is so close. Oh, I'm rubbing back here. That's easy. That'll get pushed in. Both shocks are charged. Back on. Yeah. Look at that. Okay, they have the same preload on them. They have the same slider stops. Let's get the wheels on and see what the ride height looks like. This is the body. All the valving is up in here. I've got my primary spring, secondary spring. I've got my spring slider slash separator. I've got my spring stops, and I've got my upper set mount, and then I've got my external resi. That I've got pressurized to 200 PSI with nitrogen. And right now, this is essentially zero preload. So as you can see, the shock is up, and here we go. No preload on the suspension. This is how I adjust my ride height. The further I drive this down, the higher it goes. I want it as low as possible. So this is zero preload. Probably gonna add, I don't know, quarter inch, half inch of preload to it. And then we'll see what this looks like ride height wise. I want it to be as low as I can get it. And right now, it's pretty high. But how awesome does it look? I think this is what I want roughly for ride height. I need to raise the rear a little bit. That's gonna be part of my next task. But this is just roughly mocked up. I'm pretty happy with how that lines up and sits. So you can see that the shock, I've still got maybe 6 inches, I think, which is looking pretty good. Right on, right on. It's often difficult for me to see the truck I bought in 1994 underneath all this. Now, granted, a lot of it has changed, but this truck has been a big part of my life for a long part of my life. I'm really excited where it's headed. It's performed exactly how I wanted it to. And I've basically just taken the last couple of years to refine it, to make small changes that make it stronger, make it more streamlined, make it more dependable and reliable, make it more impervious to water, dust, mud, whatever else the trail may throw at it. I'm excited about this Faisal project because it's going to be looking good again. And once again, I'm streamlining more and more. These trucks, specifically the square body platform, has proven to be such a great platform for those who want to build our own rigs. The body on frame construction, the availability of parts, the space, and the general ease of working on them has lent themselves to pushing the square body truck to the front of the pack when it comes to cheap four-wheelers. Obviously, this isn't as cheap anymore, but by no means is all of this necessary to have an awesome truck. A small block Chevy with a moderate 4-inch lift, 35-inch tires, and some gears, and you have a truck that will keep up with most new things out on the road today. I love to mess and tinker with it. I love to constantly improve, and I love the fabrication aspect of it. But do not assume that you need to have all this gear to have an awesome truck. This has been a process that has started in 2014, and I don't even know when it's going to be finished. We're going on 6 years of constantly building, evolving, and changing how this truck drives, rides, appears, handles, all of the above. I'm looking forward to some awesome trips this year. I'd love to connect with you guys. Tell me why you think I should be taking this thing. I did Moab. I did the Rubicon. I've done Hammers. Where else should I consider taking the K30 Blazer this year in 2020? Let me know down below. With the entire clip stripped off, my objective is to try and declutter as much of this wiring as I can, bundle it where it needs to be, and get it run and secured up on the firewall and the tubes. I'd love to be able to basically just drop the quarters on be able to turn the key after I connect the battery. So let's do some detangling today. I've identified that these four right here, I've got left and right turn signals, horn, and this is hazards. I've got my white right here. This is for my power wiper motor. I've got transmission cooling lines, and I got a bunch of other stuff that's not necessary that I need to get out of here. So let's start testing continuity and see if I can find where all these terminate. So today I really tidied up and terminated a lot of this wiring. I've also traced a lot of the runs from the firewall on the driver's side that just I didn't know where they went. So this bundle is pretty much ready to go. This is a rough mock-up on how I think this whole forward cradle is gonna sit. So here are my two lines. I've got return, and which one's my return? This is my supply, so hot. This is my return, so hopefully cool. And I'll show you what I did up in the cabin to get those to seat again, because the transmission tunnel keeps knocking on the adapter and putting a crease in it. So I had to come up with a solution for that. So fans right here. This will not interfere with anything to do with the core support or radiator. Will allow everything centralized. It's not ideal for heat, but it will be getting some decent airflow from underneath. Battery is gonna go in here along with that little tank. This will be on a tray, so everything can drop out of it, and that will allow me to still have access up underneath. This is a consideration for the for the power steering cooler. I'm not committed to it yet, but I'm considering it. The wiring may look like a mess, but it is actually starting to come together. So I'm gonna give you a quick blast through as to what I've done here and my thoughts behind consolidating everything. I wanna keep everything inside this cradle, essentially. So if I can wire a bunch of stuff and just have it all traveling over here, down to a fuse panel here, to a bus bar breakout here. Here are my relays. There will be another bus bar for grounding. I'm going to put another one down here. These are all grounds for headlights, for fans, for this guy, for a bunch of stuff. So I've got all that mess of wiring, and this is very rough. I'll be making brackets to hold a lot of this, I hope. But essentially, it's roughly where I want it to be. I have these guys right here. I've got power to my electric fans. I've got the winch controller that's into the cab. I've got the headlight wiring. Then I've got all my grounds and starter wires, battery cables, another ground to the frame. And then there's my cables from the battery to the alternator. It has tidied things up considerably over here. I'm still finishing up, but you can see that it's made a lot of progress. I'm pretty stoked on it. I do think I'm going to be putting this right there. It's a good location for it. It'll get decent airflow, and it's up and out of the way. The trans cooler is going to be going here, and I am going to be putting a little battery tray down in here. Ideally, I won't need to get into this area all that often. Once it's set and dialed in, it should be fairly easy and problem-free, I'm hoping. The transmission cooler lines right here, these will be going up to the radiator first to run through the radiator transmission cooler, and then the output from that will move into input from this. This guy will go into the return line down there, so I'll have two different levels of cooling for the radiator. This is going to be my accessory bus right here. So this will have a direct power to the battery. So this is, instead of drawing off the battery constantly, I'm going to be drawing off the accessory bus. The accessory bus is also going to have a link to a fuse panel that all of the devices will run off, whether that's the e-locker, the transmission cooler, the headlights. I can run those through a little fuse box down here to protect all the circuits. Now there are some stuff that already have fuses built in. This is for my e-locker, so I guess I don't need one. That's for the e-locker, so it's already got a little fuse in there. This is for the KC light, so I don't need one for that, but I am going to need one for the transmission cooler, and I'm sure I've got some other stuff that I need stuff for. Anyway, this is all my negatives that I've got. So this is going to come down to another bus bar down here. And then all these guys, this is for KC highlights. This is for the Hell Roaring battery isolator. This one is for, let me see if I can pull this all out and see what it is. This is the headlights. This is fans. And these are all relay switches. So still quite a bit of wiring to do, but it's clean, it's organized, it's terminated, and I know where it's going. I think. Looks like a mess though, doesn't it? I think for the most part, most of the major wiring that has to get done is done. Headlights are working, transmission cooler's working, e-locker's working, so I know that this is now set up. The only thing I want to do is I want to put an inline fuse for, actually it'll be in this one, for power to the transmission cooler. I don't have a fuse in there right now. Everything else is fused. Yeah. I just hooked up the battery to it and connected it. Everything worked as I would hope. I really want to be able to just put the panels back on, connect up the wires, put the battery in, and drive it. That's the goal, to be able to just disconnect the battery and pull it all apart very quickly. Now, obviously, having the radiator up front will make it challenging to remove the core support, but that's not that big of a deal. I just basically want to be able to get in on the side so I can work on things. And popping off a quarter panel, it's about 10 bolts, and doing a battery, you know, and a couple more, and then we should be good to go. I'm excited how this is looking. I'm a little nervous about 3 weeks till hammers though. Anyway, if you guys liked this video, please go ahead and give me a subscribe and take a look at some of my other videos. This one up here is from King of the Hammers last year. I was in crunch time as usual, but I made it out to Hammers. I had a great time, and the video is pretty funny. Take a look, and I'll see you next week. Merricks Garage.